thinking here, as well as a narrow perspective. Women took part in riots even if they were not the same class of women whose delicacy Burke admired. Gallantry, publicly expressed, was the accompaniment to this perceived delicacy. In the words of Fraser's Magazine, a leading periodical in 1831, printing a polite review of Caroline Norton's work, "We think that a lady ought to be treated, even by reviewers, with the utmost deference." Gallantry apart, the harsh words addressed by a husband to his wife in one of Caroline Norton's novels, Stewart of Dunleith, published in 1851, were not in fact exaggerated. "Everything that's yours is mine. The clothes you have on, the chain round your neck, the rings you have on are mine. The law don't admit a married woman has a right to a farthing's worth of property." The importance of any individual campaign, based, as in this case, on personal suffering, in bringing about change versus the inexorable sweep of history, is eternally arguable. Caroline Norton herself was well aware of the composite nature of reform. As she put it in 1851, "We are all ants, moving our grains of sand to make a roadway, and by little and little the roadway will be seen, plain, broad, and direct, though the ants were swept away unnoticed." This is the story of one individual worker on the roadway, whose whole life bore witness to the undeniable fact that a married woman did exist. Part 1. Starry Night. I saw starry night yesterday. Caroline Norton, described by Disraeli, 1833. Chapter 1. Child in a Dark Wood. This is not a child I would care to meet in a dark wood. Richard Brinsley Sheridan, on his granddaughter Caroline, 1811. The story of Caroline Norton begins appropriately in an atmosphere of romance. This romance was provided by the elopement of her parents to Gretna Green in order to get married in 1805. There was also, as it happens, an element of scandal. Caroline Elizabeth Sheridan was born on the 22nd of March, 1808. Her father, Tom Sheridan, was involved in a legal case of criminal conversation, or crim-con, in other words, adultery, at the time of her conception and during the months of Mrs. Sheridan's pregnancy. Finally, Tom Sheridan was found guilty and condemned to pay damages to the husband for his affair with a married woman 3 years earlier, before he himself was married. Returning to the atmosphere of romance, everything about the Sheridan family was romantic, unless a stern line was taken about Irish blood, that is. There was no doubt that Irish blood frequently got a bad press during this period, and continued to do so throughout Caroline Sheridan's lifetime. If the Irish themselves were commonly described as barbarous, or barbarian, from the Latin word barbarus for stranger, although it was actually the English who were the strangers in the land, Irish blood merited a more sophisticated judgment. A great deal of charm was involved. The writer Bulwer Lytton called it the Irish cordiality of manner, and an element of frivolity was there too. On one occasion, apologizing for her own light-heartedness at some dire moment, Caroline turned aside criticism. "Forgive my jesting. I feel sincerely anxious for your anxiety, but Irish blood will dance." On the other hand, the light could be suffused with dark. Caroline was well aware of the tragic history of Erin, as the land of her ancestors was sometimes known. One of her own poems, A Dream of Erin, concerned a creature seen in thin air. "'Twas Erin's genius, well her voice I know, half wail, half music, sad but tender too. England, I call thee from a land of slaves. Hear, tyrant sister." Fortunately, the dream ends less tragically, with the tyrant sister transformed, England and Erin mingling hearts and hands. Certainly, where the blood of Sheridans of Caroline's generation was concerned, England and Ireland were mingled. An early biographer of Caroline's celebrated grandfather